Alright, let's go ahead and add that shoulder guard in now. So I think the best way to do this, and your mileage may vary, you might have better ways of doing this, but I'm going to return back to the shirt subtool, and I'm going to go ahead and duplicate that. And you already know what's coming. I'll just delete the kind of subdivision level on that. I'll solo this out, and I'm going to use the same wide strap IMM brush that we've been using up until now. Okay, but there's going to be a slight difference of this one. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create one that's obviously thinner than it needs to be. If we have a look at the concept art here, there we go. Okay, so it's roughly down towards, well, just stopping above her armpit there essentially, and I imagine it's going to be the same on the other side. Okay, so remember, we want to draw something that's got a little bit more wiggle room. Okay, but I'm only going to draw this about size 64 or so, so I'm just going to draw that over there, stop halfway, and I will continue it down there. No, a bit more. Okay, it's gone a bit wonky, but clicking it again will just kind of, it won't dynamic that. Okay, clicking it again there will just kind of sort that out a little bit for us. Okay, now obviously this is nowhere near the correct width. We want thickness. Goodness, cannot speak. We want thickness here. Okay, this is definitely not anywhere near thick enough. Okay, so but we do have the correct curvature. Now just play around a bit, get the curvature the way you want it to be. Okay, this is a little bit unfortunate there. It's always going to have this kind of issue there. Okay, but just get the curvature almost perfect, and we'll alt click somewhere else. But we'll bring out the scale tool. Now the scale tool is going to be a little bit off center, but basically what you want to do is you want to unpadlock it and rotate it so it's basically on the same sort of this red square here, which is the X width basically. You want that basically parallel. Okay, and then what we're going to do is we're just going to click the padlock again and extrude it that way. Okay, so now we've got the correct width that we want. Sorry guys, I can't speak today. Okay, there you go, and that's how you can kind of cheat it a little bit. And then we can use the move topological brush, or actually, let's not even go that extreme. Let's just mask off that half. Oops, let's mask off just up to the shoulder there, soften the mask, and we'll use the rotation kind of line this time, not the gizmo, and we'll just kind of set it back on the correct path a little bit, something like that. Okay, because you kind of want it there ish. And then on the back, where is it? The back's gone a little bit skewed as well, so let's mask the shirt off. But for the shoulder strap, we'll only kind of mask off roughly there, soften it a bit more. Get the rotation line out and kind of bring it back round. We may even have to, I would say, mask that off, soften it, use the move function of it and just kind of move it. Maybe bring it down there and rotate it. That's a bit tricky. I think I'll undo that. I'll just make sure I mask the shirt, but I'll use the move topological brush and I'll just kind of strong arm it back round. I'll just mask the front as well. There we go. Oh dear, not doing very well with my masking today. There we go. I'll use the standard move brush, which is there, and just strong arm that guy back. Oh, let's soften it. Strong arm him back round, because he shouldn't be over there, but he is because, well, ZBrush. Okay, now let's mask him up one more time, and just let's try and get him to kind of flap down a little bit so it's hugging her back a bit more, something like that. Okay, now it's not going to be perfect because obviously the part of her back there is kind of her shoulder blade, so it's going to stick up a little bit. So in light of that, let's just we'll kind of just take the shoulder. We'll do the shirt for now. Sorry guys, I can't speak today. We'll just want the strap. We'll delete the clone of the shirt. There we go. Okay, so now the strap is its own subtool. We'll bring the shirt back, so we're not fighting with the shirt. Then we can see whereabouts it sits. So actually we want this sat on top of the vest, don't want it sat on top of the shirt. So with this view now, we can plainly see just exactly where it sits. So let's use that move brush now. We'll just modify the alignment here just so that it is sitting above the vest there. Now we will probably have to get rid of this strap. Let's hide the strap for now, and we'll just kind of make sure we get this in the correct position and following the kind of vest essentially. Okay, so we'll tuck it under there, and I want it to kind of sit on the on the kind of top of a shoulder there, but I want to bring it up a bit, make sure it's not clipping in the vest. Okay, trying to keep that same thickness all the way around. And what I'll probably do to assist with this part here is just mask off the very kind of top line here, soften the mask a little bit just so we don't move that. And now we can bring in a rather large move brush size and just bring that down so it sits on the shirt a bit. Okay, so it is kind of curving down a bit. Okay, just do your best to do that. It is limited geometry, so you won't have such a amazing effect, but you can still put in a bit of the effect even at this low resolution. Make sure you just pick the ends, not the middles. There you go. And if anything happens like that, you can always raise it back out again, what have you. Okay. Alright, so just make sure the kind of curvature is correct, or you're happy with the shape. That's okay like that. That's a bit curvy at the part here, so I just need to bring that in. It's fine. So basically just want a slab rectangle at the moment, nothing special. Okay, that's clipping through there. Just lift it up a bit. Okay, right. Once you've done that, that's quite nice. You can go ahead and I would say it's a good idea to crease it. So we'll just crease the edges there like we've got, and I would say we could Z remesh it. I think let's go for double the polygon count. We'll tell it to keep creases. We don't need the poly group, so we'll Z remesh that. And there we go. Okay, so now that kind of gradation from the kind of sitting on top of the vest has now been taken into account. We've got a lot more resolution here to kind of make that flow a bit more smoothly. Okay, we have almost triple the polygon count we did last time. Okay, there we go. Right, now we got rid of the straps. We told them to go away, which was very mean. Let's bring them back, and we do see that the straps now have a bit of a clipping issue, so we're going to have to play nicely a little bit here. You can see first of all straight away the problem is going to be a problem with the collar. So let's go ahead and we'll tell the collar to give the strap a little bit of room. Okay, so we'll just lift the collar up ever so slightly, something like that. Okay, just give the strap a bit of playroom, and then we'll do some magic work on the strap. So pull the strap up, and there you go. You can see the strap is just slotting under there quite nicely. It is clipping a bit more over here, so just do your best to try and bring it up over, and then here as well. Okay, now this strap, honestly, I envisioned it kind of going into the padding we've just created. If we go back to the concert art, you can see there it's kind of fixed with a ring. Now I'm sort of thinking it's probably good to have a ring, but I'm just wondering if on the back I almost feel like it should be kind of stitched in. And what I mean by that is perhaps the strap here at the back, I'll just do this quickly, it just kind of flows in underneath. I think that would be a good look. Okay, so I'm going to move this over a little bit, use a really big brush size to make sure you don't warp it too much, and I'm actually going to push the strap at least from the back under that shoulder guard I've just created. Okay, so just a bit of back and forth between pulling on the different edges there, just to kind of change the rotational angle of it. There you go. So it's now under the strap, and we don't have to worry how that's affixed exactly. That's fine like that. Okay, just get it to hang correctly the way you'd want it to hang. There we go. And then up here, we'll sort of say it's maybe we'll chop it off here or what have you and attach a ring later on. But for now, we can kind of push these elements underneath. Okay. And we'll just leave it like that for now as a bit of a rough concept there. Alright. Okay. Let's push that a bit more. Okay. Cool. So we've got that part done. Another part that we've got to do as well is we've got to do a strap around the shirt here, which we do have in our concept art. So it's back to the IMM curve brush. Let's find a good size. Let's do our wrapping around. Oh, we can't do that because I forgot. It's got multiple subdivision levels. So we'll create a clone and we'll draw around it. I think it needs to be a bit bigger than that. I'm quite a fan of chunky straps. I don't know if you've noticed. But yes, for some reason I like quite chunky straps. That's a good size. Okay, and we'll just do our best to go round. It's funny how as soon as it matches up, it just has an issue. Oops. Okay, I'll tell you what. Why don't we try a different brush? Let's try this one, which I found a little bit of curve, strap, and snap. Okay, so we'll just do another carry it on, and I don't think this behaves the same way. And I'll be hitting myself if this is a perfect way to create a strap that goes all the way around the character. And, well, no, not quite, but, oh, there we go. So, sorry guys, you were probably smacking your head against the wall going, why doesn't he know about this one? Because the simple answer is I'm not very smart. Okay, so there you go. That's a good way of doing that. So they could have gone ahead and done the same for the Vambrace or whatnot, but actually they have to slot in somewhere, so that's fine. The only thing I'd say about this is I would just scale it down a little bit. I'll use the gizmo. I don't know, maybe it's... Let's go back to the concept art. How thick is that? Oh, it's pretty thick. Okay, so that worked out to be a nice size in the end. Okay, cool. Right, let's use the move brush. Oh no, sorry, we'll go back to this first. Where was it? It was... Oh dear. I'm showing my age here. Curve strap snap, we'll alt click that just to say we're done, and we'll use the move brush now. I just want to make sure it's the same thickness all the way around, so here it's kind of sticking out a little bit. I'll just push that under there. Now I'm not worried about this having like an underside face too much because it's going to be pretty tightly wrapped around her arm, so you're never going to see it. So if it's hollow on the inside, I'm not going to lose too much sleep about that, to be honest. Okay. Okay, and that's going to be something that will be refined later on as we create folds around that as well. Okay, what other parts have we got? We need hinges and rings and whatnot. So let's just go ahead and we'll create a very generic ring for the time being. The way we can do that is we'll go over to our subtool. We'll insert, you guessed it, a 3D ring. And now this is not the final solution or anything like that. It's just a bit of a play around to see what we've got. Okay, so we're just going to use this ring. It's a placeholder just to check on the design. And let's rotate it and we'll put it in a good position where we'd want it to be. So we need a ring here that's going to fix this belt to the big belt that's kind of going across there. So it's just about rotating that into position. And it's a bit chunkier than I'd want it, but again, it's just to demonstrate an idea for now as we check on the character concept in 3D. Okay, and before I do anything to that, I'm just going to duplicate it before I adjust it. And then now I'm going to use my move tool. I'm just going to put that underneath the belt for now. Okay, oops, I worked on the clone. There we go. Okay, so that's roughly how that would look. I mean, if you want a triangle ring, you can always shape it a bit like that. It's fine too. Okay, where else do we have rings? Let's go back to the character concept art. We've got a lot of buckles and what have you. We've got a ring on the top right shoulder there. So that clone I made, we'll move that up to here as well. And let's see what a ring looks like. when it sits here. So it needs to be above everything else we've created so far, something like that. And I tell you what, just for visual sake, we'll duplicate this strap subtool, and what I'll do for this one here, I'll solo it out, and I've decided that for this one here I'm going to cut it up a little bit. So underneath here I don't need that geometry, I'm just going to mask that out there, make sure I have plenty of room underneath, and then I'll mask it out possibly down here, solo that. So I'm going to mask the area in between these two designated areas here, and you know what's coming next. I'm going to go to polygroups, go into group masked, and there we go. Just make sure it's a good grouping, and I'm going to, oops, not that way, select the pink stuff, invert it, geometry, and modify topology, delete hidden. Okay, and if we close holes, it just closes the ends of them like that. Okay, so now don't worry, we've still got a copy of that. It's working in a non-destructive way. We've got a copy of that subtool in case we decide this is not a nice way to do it. We can adjust this strap and the way it hangs, and we can just basically play with the idea of what happens if this was attached with a ring that sits roughly up here somewhere, maybe a bit smaller. There we go. And then we move that strap into position somewhere around there. Let's push it up a bit beyond the ring, and let's mask this area off, soften the mask, invert it, and I do get rid of the gizmo, draw a line there, and just rotate it round, and maybe just skew it a bit as well. There we go. Okay, don't have to do anything more than that, just to get the general gist and idea. Okay, right, so let's review. What have we got so far? Let's just touch on the skin there so it doesn't get in the way. Right, so let's bring our concept art up. Here it is. Okay, and let's just do a quick one-by-one comparison of our character. Okay, so a couple of things that have changed from the concept art to the 3D model is that we have not got these leg guards in as more on the thighs here. Okay, we haven't got them present, so we don't have a strap around the thigh there. We do have a big satchel there, so let's go ahead and we'll just quickly do that. We'll add in a basic box subtool just to test this out. Okay, and you can shape this up a little bit. We don't have to be so slap and dash about it, so something like that. And then that might be okay actually. Yep, I like satchels that are virtually squares, or maybe you can shrink it down just a tad. And we'll just place that as a placeholder here along the side of it. And get that roughly the right size. Something like that. And actually, let's go one step further, and we'll kind of, well, we could crease the edges of it, maybe. No, let's not. Let's just Z-remesh this. Leave it on the default settings. Okay, it's done quite a lot with those edges there. Let's undo that a bit. We'll just make this a bit more softer looking, so a bit more like a satchel. Except for the back edge, we kind of want the back edge a bit straighter, so we'll just soften these areas up there. We'll keep the back edge a little bit straighter, just a bit of a dabbing around the back. And then these corners quite soft. Okay, and let's ask Z-Remesher to do its stuff. Okay, and then we can just kind of soften it up a little bit, create a bit more of a satchel shape just simply by smoothing it. So it looks like a big pillow essentially. There you go. Okay, undesolar that, and there we go. We have our kind of general satchel shape. Okay, maybe we can make that a bit bigger. Like a really big satchel she's got strapped to her side there. Don't know what's in it. let's not ask her. We don't want to annoy her. Because there we go. Okay, so there you go. We've got that general idea down there. So okay, we're pretty much on par with the design and the concept out there. We're just missing some regalia like the belt buckles and everything like that. But generally speaking, the design is coming on. Okay, there's only one thing I do want to change. It's the ruffled collar there. I decided I'm going to change it a little bit, so we are just going to jump back to Marvel's Designer just for a quick one, because the way this is set up here, it's a bit like a cravat at the moment, and whilst it looks okay in the concept art design, it doesn't look as fancy as I hoped it would in 3D. In 3D I hoped it would look quite aristocratic, but actually after looking a little bit more into ruffled collars, this looks a bit more like a wrapping, like a bandage, which is not really what I was going for. So what I'm going to have instead, I'm going to have this be significantly thinner, about half its thickness right now, and I'm going to have ruffles that kind of stand up as well. So it's not only is it ruffled down here in the center, but it's also going to be ruffled up here towards the neck. Okay, so we'll just spend one more video doing that, jumping back to Marvel's Designer. It will be a little bit of a step backwards, but it's a necessary step to get this neck area looking right. That's the only part right now that's kind of calling the overall design I see here into contention a little bit. Okay, yes, of course we haven't got holsters in, yes, of course we haven't got scabbards in just yet, but again, focusing very much on just the character design at the moment, and then we'll worry about the weapons a little later on. Okay, alright, fabulous guys, great work so far. I hope you're happy with the character so far, and we'll jump back to Marvel's Design in the next video.